Let's get to another question here. This one was sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Eric. Eric from sunny San Clemente, California here. And I've always been fascinated by Ron Garvin's 1988 heel turn at Great American Bash 88 to his departure. So, big sentence, sorry. I messed it up. Then, him winning the AWA TV title from Greg Gagne and the WWC Universal title from Carlos Colon. Then, eventually signing with Vince, while still being both AWA TV champ and WWC Universal champ. My question to you, what was your thoughts when you heard that Ron left the NWA right after shooting this hot angle betraying Dusty? What did the locker room think as well? And do you know what the definitive reason why Garvin left? I've heard so many conflicting things. I would love a solid answer.
I'd love the end of the question.
P.S.
Oh, Jesus.
Please release the Midnight Express versus Bad Company. I need that match in my veins.
And where is this gentleman from?
Eric from sunny San Clemente, California.
Okay, a long way away from Louisville. Good. Okay. You know, I got to be honest with you right at the top of the program here. I don't, besides Ronnie Garvin being mad at Dusty for either something, either mad or Dusty or mad at the office, either for the way he was booked or the money he was getting, I don't remember why he fucking left. And that was the summer of '88. That was the bashes. By God, I was occupied. That's when we had that, schedule of like 40-something fucking days and 40-something matches and 40-something days all over the country. Can you remember why Ronnie, was it ever talked about? He said he's heard conflicting stories. I don't remember hearing any. He just got mad and left.
Ronnie Garvin, from the interview footage I've seen over the years, has been pretty vocal about his, I don't want to use the word hatred, his dislike of Dusty Rhodes, specifically the way Dusty booked. Yeah. I don't know if he always felt that way, but that's the way he always discusses it. And yeah, they shot the thing at the Bash in '88 where he turned on Dusty and then he was gone.
And see, here's the thing. Ronnie Garvin was a great worker and everybody respected him. Everybody wanted to work with him unless they were afraid of getting the shit kicked out of them. But he would tend to get grumpy and, he'd be doing something for a while and you'd not know he was grumpy. And then after the fact, you'd know he was grumpy about it. But at that point in time, because Ronnie was older than he looked because he was in such tremendous shape. But at that point in time, I think he was on the downhill slope, not conditioning wise, but just of interest of the people. Because the matches with Flair in '86 were so fucking good. And the boys loved to watch them, and they were beating the shit out of each other. And you could show people that and say, this shit's real, and they'd buy it. But the fans, Ronnie was getting older and the fans weren't buying him at the level of the Rock and Roll Express or Magnum TA or Barry Windham or the younger baby faces. And Dusty put the belt on him over Flair so that Flair could win it back at Starrcade that year. And it was a big thing, but I guess Ronnie took that as an insult, like he only had it 8 weeks or whatever. Well, he actually probably really shouldn't have got it if he just went on box office alone. But he was so fucking good and believable. So,
and you actually got to see him as a heel. Most people never got to see him as a heel.
Yeah. Well, not only in Tennessee when it was Ron and Terry Garvin with manager Jim Garvin in 1973, they were a great heel team, but he was a heel in Knoxville, part of his Southeastern run. And then, like Steve Austin, the people started liking him because he was so tough and so crazy, and he became a babyface. And then he was their kick-ass babyface. And that's when he was 10 years younger, And so at any rate, the reason why he had all those belts and everything at the same time is because Crockett was signing everybody to contracts at that point. I don't know whether his had run out and they were trying to get him to sign another one, or he just got mad and left and it was about ready to expire or whatever. But, you know, the Gagne, the AWA wasn't going to sign him to an exclusive deal at that point. Their business was down. Puerto Rico, they didn't care what else you were doing. And when he got the chance to work for Vince he knew he'd make legitimate money, even if he wasn't getting a guarantee. Being on the WWF shows was going to outrank the dying days of the AWA, and go to Puerto Rico. He was going to make more money there, but he had to sign a contract. So he did, and didn't go back to work for those other people. But on it, that was the only other place to go. I don't know if he was ready to quit, I think, and become a full-time pilot anyway, which is what he did. Not for Delta or whatever, but a private pilot.
Hey, when he worked for when he worked for you in Smoky Mountain, tell me the truth. Did you wish he had blonde hair?
No, because I always thought he looked odd with the blonde hair, because it wasn't his personality at all to be a bleached blonde guy. And when he had been most over in Knoxville in Southeastern wrestling, he'd had dark hair. And he hadn't been the Hands of Stone. He was the one-man gang, Ronnie Garvin, with dark hair, with that Canadian accent. And he'd go out and fucking bleed and do hard ways and bash people with furniture. And so I was perfectly fine with that part. But he was working for me because he had been over in that territory before, and he could do his flying and do whatever the fuck else he wanted on days he wasn't booked for me. But I don't, unless he was already ready to transition to wrestling part-time and flying and doing whatever, I don't know why he would have walked out on Crockett, because the only other place to go was work for Vince. And he was there for what, a year? Because by then when was Ronnie Garvin born? What year?
Well, hold on. I could tell you in terms of when he was with the WWF, he was there all through 1989 into early 1990 at least.
So, about a year or so probably is what deal he signed. And obviously, being French Canadian, he knew Pat Patterson.
Born in 45, 80 years old.
Okay, but at that time he was 45. So, I mean, physically, he was in such great shape. Or whatever. What year do you say he was born in again?
He was born in 45.
In 1945. So, yeah, in 1988, he would have been 43.
That's crazy to think he was 30 already in 75. Wow.
Oh, yeah. But that's when, it really, the Garvin brothers as a team were a heel team in the South, Georgia, the Florida, Goulas territory. But Ronnie didn't really get over as a name on his own until the mid-70s. And Eddie Graham liked him in Florida because he was so tough and so believable. And that same thing that they liked him in the Carolinas for. But anyway, if he wouldn't have quit Crockett unless he was figured I'm probably already ready to transition into the next stage of my career, because he's in his mid-40s trying to go to the WWF for the first time. So that was probably to have a run and see how things worked out.
The idea he shot an angle where he turns on Dusty, who, although he had his detractors, was still one of the top baby faces and the booker. And that's it. There's no back and forth. There are no matches. There's no feud. It just ends.
That's probably what he liked the best about it.
I was going to say,
Dusty.
Is he spiteful enough to just do all that and walk out just to fuck over Dusty?
Well, no, I don't think he would have done it if he was intending to leave. I think whatever caused him to decide, fuck this, happened either in the execution of or what he heard or learned immediately afterwards, I would think.